bevo.com.
It's interesting that you mention loving the customer as one of your values within Love Film, because I was watching a video on YouTube not long ago, which was Jeff Bezos talking about one of the things that he knows is that you have to have customer obsession. So you're both talking about this. Could you tell me, how does that value, putting a customer-centric organization, how does it manifest itself into everyday business activity?
To be a customer-centric business, it has to come from the top. Right, you have to make trade-offs every single some minute of the day as a chief executive around customer experience and cost and efficiency and price and cash and all those other things. And if you're not putting the customer at the front and center of what you want to do as an organization, then you'll never achieve those goals. It's not something that I can do. Is why don't I delegate to a customer czar who is going to be responsible for customer experience, and they're buried in the organization at this particular level in this particular location, because you know what, they'll never get an opportunity to do that. And there's always 10 reasons why not to do something in terms of doing that. So you have to, one, say, this is important. Secondly, you have to demonstrate how you think that's important. And a good example of this is and this is really the difference often between entrepreneurial type environments and large corporate environments. As a managing director or leader in a smaller startup entrepreneurial environment, you sometimes have to grab that organization, I say by the throat, but I'm using that metaphorically to say, right, this is really important, right? I want everybody to do this, right? The consequence of doing this is that we'll have lower churn rate, we'll keep our customers for longer, it's going to be better, and this is how we're going to do it, and for the next month or 2 months I want everybody to do that. In a large organization it's harder to do that given the layers and challenge, etc. that you have, and disruption around day jobs and those other things. But in a smaller organization you can do that, and it's vital that you do that and you demonstrate it. A good example is early 2007. We just completed the merger and integration onto one platform of Love Film and Video Island and Screen Select, and put those brands together. We were very internally focused for 6 to 9 months as we did all that migration, and we lost sight on the customer experience of it. And put my hand up, and I stood in front of the whole company and I said, this is the issue, this is what we did wrong, this is how we're going to change it, and this is the metrics that I will be measuring on a daily basis for the next 3, 4, 6 months, however long it takes, before we get it right. The other thing that I've done is I've said at times, we're making too many of those marginal decisions against the customer rather than for the customer. So if there is any decision in the organization that needs to be made that is going to make the customer experience worse, I want to be involved, right? And that leadership about customer management and being customer centric is what you need to do. And also building into, if you have quarterly performance related plans that we talked about, building those into people to say, you know what, churn is the most important thing we can focus on, so how long we keep our customers for. I want everybody in the organization for the next quarter to have a measure that 25% of their quarterly bonus is going to be paid on how well we do as a total organization against churn. That's an example of having a quarterly goal where it can really work for you, because that not only affects the business, but it affects what they take home at the end of the quarter. And then you can begin to align people and make that work. And so what you're looking for as a chief executive or as a leader in the business is, what are those important things? What's the way to drive it? And constantly checking with yourself, and am I doing something here that's actually not right, or not clearly communicating what's required?
And I suppose having it as a quarterly theme as opposed to sort of having it for a week or two will make sure that it's not a fad. It becomes almost habitual within the organization for the quarter, so that after the focus is away from that onto something else like churn or anything else, it will then at least be in the organizational subconscious. Is that the reason why it's a quarter?
That's exactly right, and that becomes a way to manage initiatives and growth. Because it's very easy in the business, especially if you've got big structure, etc., to begin to create lots of initiatives, right? And I go back to the point of how do you be successful is by chopping stuff out rather than adding stuff in. That's the hard. I think I once went to a session talking about strategy, and somebody was presenting, can't remember, but they were saying that the hardest part about the most important thing about strategy is to decide what not to do. Because if I think about our business, we're in entertainment, we can do games, people have said about music, we've got other initiatives, we're currently in UK, Germany, in Scandinavia, what other markets can we go into? Yeah. There's a wealth of opportunities for us to look at in terms of what next, right? Yeah. We have finite management resource, we have finite people, finite cash that we have to do it with, right? Where do we focus and how do we make that work? And interestingly, in whatever size of organisation that I've been in, Dell was a very large organisation, and River Deep in Ireland, which was in the education space, was a much smaller organisation. The more you work through different sides of business, the more that truism absolutely works for you, which is just stay focused and ensure everybody's aligned with that goal, and create the vision and the goal and the competitor that you want to go after.
Bevo.com